I'm not sure how I feel about that ending. Today I finished screening Juror number 2, Clint Eastwood's latest film. It had an extremely limited release here on the big screen because, from what I understand, it's landed on Max, HBO or Max, whatever. I think the 20th, as of the recording of this, it's the 22nd. I took a few days to screen it, and earlier this afternoon, finished like the last 30 minutes of it. I like courtroom dramas. I always have ever since I saw Anatomy of a Murder way back when. So I found this very engaging. It doesn't take long before you excuse my dog. I have a feeling my dog's going to be a bit of a distraction. She won't get up in my lap, but she's doing circles right here. Okay, whatever. What was I saying? Oh, I was saying that the conflict, or what is revealed to be the main issue or problem in this story for the protagonist, is revealed about 12 minutes in. It's about this guy. He gets called for jury duty. His wife is heavily pregnant. She's in a high-risk pregnancy. You find out more about their history as the story goes on. He ends up being picked to serve on the jury. And throughout the course of his time listening to the trial, he ends up becoming aware of a moral quandary that he has about the case. And there are some questions that you start to ask initially. Well, why not this? Why not that? Those questions are answered as the story goes along, so you have to be a little patient. It will be revealed. And I found this movie to be gripping because the situation that he was in was complicated, like the truth often is. And I was super curious to find out what was going to be the conclusion of this dilemma that he was in. And because there were no easy answers, it's a bit hard to feel settled about the ending. And that ending, I'm still thinking about it because, excuse my dog, because part of me is okay with it, but another part of me is not. And I don't want to delve... Chibi! I don't want to delve... She's scrunching the chair, and there's nothing to scrunch. But she's doing it anyway. I don't want to delve too deeply into the elements of the ending that I had an issue with, because I honestly don't want to spoil that for you. I'm just curious to find out if you walk away from this movie with the same sort of unsettled or complicated thoughts as I had by the time it was done. I do think this is a film worth watching for sure. Just the acting, I really enjoyed the acting. I thought Nicholas Hoult did a really good job, and Toni Collette as well. She was quite good. Both of those people, I found it interesting what a great command they both have of the American dialect, but Toni Collette, oh my goodness, she was leaning hard into that Southern accent. My goodness. This takes place in Georgia, and she was really piling it on. Super thick, like really thick. It just kind of tickled me a little bit, but whatever. She was great in here. Everybody was great in here. Clint Eastwood's daughter has a bit part, Francesca, as, you know, happens from time to time in his films. And I feel like it's worth a watch for the acting, for the story, if you like courtroom dramas, if you like being presented with situations where there is not an easy black and white answer. And that was definitely the case with this film. And it's what kept me really engaged the whole time, because as the story progresses, you realize more and more how complex the situation is. And because of that, there is because of that, there was a part of me that wanted a certain resolution, and I didn't get it. I'm not sure if there would have been a realistic or believable way to get that resolution as far as this story went, or in just reality in general. So yeah, I'm mulling this over. I'm not going to downgrade this because of the ending. I'm going to rate this probably a 4 out of 5 stars just because of how well paced it was, how well acted it was, how good the story was to me. I really liked the scenes where the jurors were talking, and there's a part of me that's always wanted to serve on a jury, but the 2 times that I've been called, I legit could not do it, and I really would like to. So who knows, maybe one day. Anyway, there were a couple of, not really cons, but just things that kind of stood out to me as, I don't know about that. And I know why this particular thing was done, this first thing that I'm going to mention. It was obviously to amp up the drama of the situation, but there's a part in the trial where Toni Collette's character asks a witness to point out a particular person that he had seen at the scene of the crime, and the witness on the stand looks off in a direction opposite of where the defendant is, and that's where he looked is completely not at all the sort of thing that would happen in a trial. And that really stood out to me as a little bit eye-rolling because it was only done for purposes of amping up the tension. And that really didn't sit well with me. It's a very minor thing, I'm telling you, not a big deal at all. My gosh, what the heck? Chibi's humping Levi. Chibi! Sorry about that. So that was really not a big deal. Another thing that kind of jumped out at me as something that felt a little bit unrealistic, maybe it's just because of a perception I have about the legal system. This trial happened within about a year of the crime being committed, and I found that pretty unrealistic because the justice system moves extremely slowly. That's not a big deal either. So honestly, I don't have many cons to speak of as far as this film, but yeah, that ending. It's going to bother me a little because it's not wrapped up in the package I wanted it to be wrapped up in. And I know that's super vague, but you'll know what I mean when or if you get around to watching this film. So I'm very, very distracted by my dogs right now. Boy, I leaned heavily into the southern. I'm very, very distracted by my dogs right now. And I don't have much more to say about this film because that would get into too many spoilers. So that's about all I have to say now about Juror number 2. Let me know what you think if you get around to watching it. And that's it for now, you guys. Later.